Good morning, everyone. It is indeed my honor to welcome a former colleague and dear friend, Advocate Dr. Sandile Nogxina, to our Business School Bonbon series. Sandile has made a phenomenal contribution as an accomplished leader, and he has played a pivotal role in South Africa's transformation journey. The purpose of our interaction with him this morning is to allow him to bring some of the wisdom that he has gained in his career and to share some of his leadership wisdom on both transformation and leadership with our students. He has dedicated a large part of his career to the public sector, working in various capacities as a researcher, legal advisor, special advisor, deputy director general, various research assignments in the African National Congress, specifically in the Department of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. He's worked as a Director General in the Department of Minerals and Energy. He was the advisor of the Minister of Minerals Resources. He was appointed as the ambassador to Mexico, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. And all these were held concurrently. From 2011, he is again serving as a special advisor to the Minister of Minerals and Energy. He currently serves as an independent non-executive chairman of the board of AXA from November 2018. He's made enormous contribution to world-class legal framework in South Africa and can boast today within the minerals, mining, and energy sector. So we are indeed honored to have such a phenomenal leader share with us his wisdom today. Welcome, Sandile.
Thank you very much, Mala. I'm really humbled for this invitation.
Thank you. I can start with the questions now. Our first question that we'd like to hear from you, Sandile, you have had an amazing journey at a national and international leadership level. Tell us some of the most valuable cross-cultural leadership lessons that you learned along the way.
You know, the most important lesson that I've learned throughout my journey of life, which journey of life has coincided with my journey of leadership, which I've assumed in various capacities throughout my life, is that leadership is not something that you learn. It's not something that you can say that I've got a degree in leadership and therefore, that being the case, I can lead. Leadership is earned. And you earn it by continually ensuring that you exhibit as the leader those qualities of leadership that resonate with ethical uprightness, compassion, competency, leading by example. It's something that I've discovered that you have to have it irrespective of which jurisdiction you are, irrespective of what cultural context you are operating. This is one of the most important lessons that I have learned. The second lesson that I've learned is the need for agility. You must be prepared for unforeseen behavior, unanticipated behavior from your stakeholders, because their behavior is normally informed by their culture, which culture you may not be understanding. But as a leader who is leading in a cross-cultural context, it becomes critical that you have to have that agility that will allow you to be flexible enough to adjust yourself to the behavior or the changed environment that is going to be engendered by cultural aspects of the people's behavior.
Thank you so much, Sandile. I think valuable lessons, and thank you for sharing. Working with you all along the way, I know that leading with purpose has always been your mantra. What insights can you give to leaders and to our students on how they can achieve this within an African context?
Leadership with purpose, basically, as some of these scholars have articulated, has two basic constituent elements, which is basically goal orientation or goal focus and secondly, the people focus, that is the follower focus, which therefore means that as a leader, what you have to do, you have to combine the Western norm of goal pursuit as well as the African component of Ubuntu. A component of Ubuntu that says that I am because you are. And therefore, in as much as there is a purported social distance between you and I, because you are my subordinate and I'm your superior or I'm your supervisor, but I need you to be part and parcel of my life. Each and every member of the organization becomes an integral part of the organization, and therefore begins to feel that he is valued by the organization. It is therefore a very, very, very interesting confluence. It's an interesting cultural confluence where you see the goal orientation that normally underpins the Western approach to leadership, as well as the people-centeredness kind of an approach that you normally find in an African setting. And therefore, the students can do a lot and then can go a long way in sort of trying to further elaborate this very interesting mix and further analyze this very, very, very interesting mix.
Thank you, Sandile. So linking to that, is there a difference in how we lead in Africa compared to, say, Mexico, where you served as the ambassador, or the US or Russia, for example? What distinguishes us as African leaders? And I know that you linked onto the leadership within the Ubuntu context. Can you tell us more about that?
You know, the philosophical underpinnings of leadership in the Mexican culture, for instance, is collectivism. But it's collectivism that coheres around the concept of a family. Family in Mexico is regarded as the important factor in their lives. It's regarded as the basic unit of society, and therefore this very, 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 very important unit in society. It has got both the positive and the negatives. I'll get to the positives and the negatives later. And as a result of that, we see that the Mexican companies, most of these so-called maquiladoras, which are the manufacturing companies that are littering the borders of America and Mexico, they are family-owned businesses. And as a result, since they are family-owned businesses, there is a tendency to import, you know, the norms that apply in the management of a home to the management of a business. And as a result of that, you begin to see paternalism cropping in the manner in which they lead. You begin to see the big man syndrome rearing its ugly head in the manner in which people lead, and autocracy begins to set in the manner in which people lead. Now, this was even given credence by the inclusion of some of these cultural tenets into their post-colonial constitution of 1917, where the state was created a provision that says that the employers must provide for workers in terms of housing and all the other benefits. You then have a situation where the employer is seen as a provider, and the worker is seen as the beneficiary of that provision. And that patronage then becomes the defining element of the relationship between the worker and the manager. That is the difference between Mexico and South Africa, and the continent. In Africa, again, the underpinning cultural tenets in South Africa also, is collectivism. But it's collectivism that coheres around the notion of community rather than family. This derives from what I just referred to as the principle of Ubuntu, the philosophy of Ubuntu. And as a result, in the African setting, leadership is not seen as creating a power distance between those who are leading and those who are led. This is occasioned by the fact that the leader doesn't see himself as complete as a human being without the others. And the others in this case happen to be the workers. And that's why you would see a consensual based approach in decision making in the African context, whereas it is different in other jurisdictions where man decide and lead. So that is the difference between South Africa, I mean, between the continent, between the African continent and the Latin American context.
Thank you, Sandile. The last question. Transformation is the one thread the golden thread that filtered all the roles that you have fulfilled. It's the one area where you are very deeply committed to. And people that work with you have commended you for being able to drive transformation while getting wide acceptance from all quarters. And this is despite the fact that change is not easy, because it shifts people from their comfort zones. What wisdom can you share with us and coming leaders on how they can get buy-in to a common vision to transform organizations?
I think this also talks to the first question that you raised on leadership with purpose. Because for you to be able to navigate yourself through uncharted terrains, it becomes important that you have to take your people with you. You have to take the people along with you. In this case, you don't only have to take the people with whom you agree along with you. You have to take even those that you disagree with along with you. Case in point here is the whole issue of transformation, static service, which you and I were driving in the early 1994, during the early days of democracy in South Africa. It was critical that you recall that in as much as the democratic South Africa had fallen in the hands of a particular ruling party, which is the African National Congress, when we formulated policies during that time, you will recall that we had to bring on board almost everybody. We didn't say that the electorate has now given South Africa the power, has now given the ANC the authority and the power as well as the mandate to govern, and therefore they must govern irrespective of how the other people feel. You will recall that we had a lot of stakeholder forums that we created where we're engaging with a number of stakeholders, those who were for and who were against a transformation. This is the kind of approach that we adopted with the Department of Minerals and Energy when we had to transform one of the oldest and the most influential sectors in the South African economy, the mining industry. We didn't say that we have the power to make laws. We said, no, let's come together. Let's find a way in which we can do. We did things that were totally unorthodox. And the most important thing is to convert those with whom you work, for them to understand that they are change agents. They are not just employees. They have a purpose that goes beyond self-actualization in the form of them at least getting their salaries at the end of the day. There is a bigger good that is outside there, which is bigger than their personal interest. And that's the kind of spirit that the officials of both departments were imbued with. They understood that they had a mission that goes beyond what they want, that goes beyond their own comfort, them to transform for a greater good.
Thank you so much, Sandile. And I'm so glad that you found the time to share at least some of the wisdom with us. And we hope that we can have further engagements with you at our business school, because just judging from this short stint, I'm sure that you can bring much value based on your experience to our students. Thank you so much for this engagement on behalf of everyone at the business school.